Now, I warned you last night about Labor's crazy scheme to have the federal government take a 40% stake in some houses. I said it raised more questions than it answered. I said it would end in tears. And I also mentioned that it amounted to a nationalisation or even a socialisation of what was once the great Australian dream, home ownership. Well, today, it's already falling over, this policy. Promoted as the magic bullet for people struggling to buy a house, only 10,000 people a year, mind you, it seems like it could actually act as a yoke around the necks of some, with people on the hook to the government as well as the bank. For instance, there are income caps on the scheme, of course. And my colleague Pete Stefanovic spoke to Labor's Deputy Leader Richard Marles this morning about whether children inheriting their parents' house might get caught out.
If during the course of their life they acquire wealth, which means they themselves no longer qualify for the scheme, well, then in that circumstance, they would need to be buying out the government, and that's fair. So it puts them on the same footing as anyone else who has means. And that's the way it would apply in relation to their children. So children who have means, want to keep the house in the family, that can be done.
What if they can't afford it, though?
Well, the point of this scheme is to provide an option for people who face a lifetime of rental. This actually gives people an option. If the home if the child qualifies, the home gets passed on. That's simple.
Yeah, that's
fine. If the child doesn't qualify,
but yeah, this is the crux here.
If the child doesn't qualify, well, then those kids would have, those kids would have an option of buying the government out.
Yeah, it all gets a little messy, doesn't it? And very quickly. Federal governments, by the way, just aren't good at running these schemes at the coalface in the economy. Leave that to the state governments. Remember the federal government under Labor trying to give out ceiling insulation or pink bats? 4 installers tragically died. Remember cash for clunkers, Medicare Gold, set-top boxes to make your TVs digital, grocery watch? Labor's got a long list of magic solutions that turn out to be dud policies. To implement this particular scheme, they'd be sending valuers out to some houses to work out what percentage of the property's value has actually come from renovations or additions by the owners, so they could tell the owners how much of the sale proceeds was theirs and how much would belong to the government. This is such a crock, of course, this policy, that when Anthony Albanese turned up at a press conference earlier today, he fobbed off all the questions about this to the Shadow Housing Minister, Jason Clare. Check this out.
Housing supply has come up a couple of times here during the press conference. Now,
so long, Jace. Jace,
this is short. This is short.
They announce reviews in order to avoid announcing actual policies. Thanks very much.
Why won't you answer my question?
Oh, sorry, mate. You didn't get one, did you? Yeah. Sorry, he didn't get one.
So I thought you would normally.
No, he didn't get one.
You're going to have to borrow $7 billion over the next 4 years to pay for the scheme. Is that correct? And if not, and if that's correct.
He comes back to answer the guy's question, but because it's about that policy, he ducks out and gives it over to Jason Clare anyway. I mean, if you don't understand the policy, don't try and sell it, I reckon. This has all the hallmarks of John Huston's birthday cake, doesn't it, when in the GST days? But when it comes to housing affordability, remember, just at the last election, Labor wanted to restrict investment properties by changing the negative gearing rules. They wanted to restrict investment in real estate to allow more room for first home buyers.
Given Labor's focus on affordable housing, wouldn't a fair way of dealing with it be for people like you, Mr Albanese, who own 3 or 4 properties to sell to create a bigger pool of housing which would lower prices? At the moment, you and others are getting tax breaks on properties.
I'll be here. Yeah. Albo can supplement. Yeah, sure, but Albo can supplement. Look, this is not about one individual.
Albanese, just on that question.
Whoa. Stop. Hang on. One question at a time. One question. Well, if you stop, then there'll be a chance to have an answer. That's the way it works. You get a question, then you get an answer in an orderly way.
I'm going to ask another one.
And,
Mr Albanese,
hang on. I'm being... You've got the call.
So the question was,
well,
wouldn't it be a fair way of dealing with it for
I heard the question. You yelled it a number of times. Can I make this point? That yes, I have a home I live in Sydney and one in Canberra, and I have an investment property. This policy is not about any individual.
Well, looks a bit messy, doesn't it? And by the way, one investment property? The latest register of members' interest shows the Labor leader has 4 properties: his Sydney home, his Canberra home, and 2 investment properties. So either he understated his investments today or he needs to update the parliamentary register. It's just updated last month. Still, Albanese will be hoping his next real estate move is into free accommodation at the Lodge in Canberra and Kirribilli House in Sydney. And this big government approach on housing, right at the moment, it's not helping him to fulfil that objective.